Good afternoon. It's my honor to welcome family, friends, faculty and staff, and students to Westminster Church for the 166th Commencement of Buffalo Seminary. Today, I imagine there are many in the audience who feel as I do, that this year passed in the blink of an eye. And for the class of 2017 and your families, I venture a guess that you are feeling that 4 years have passed in the blink of an eye. So members of the class of 2017, let's take a quick walk down memory lane and look back at some moments during your 4 years at SEM. Your freshman year, I remember vividly an all-school workshop in the study hall when one of your classmates astonished everyone by standing up and boldly and brashly dared to express what everyone was thinking but kept to themselves. You emphasized the ultimate bonding experience, your cry circle. Sophomore year Bohemian Rhapsody, Carmela, and exactly who is Jark? Card games dominated your junior year, unless your attention was diverted by a certain Secret Service agent in D.C. And your senior year, confidently and boldly, you took to the Niagara River in jet boats. And my final question for you is, how long did you hold up traffic on Newbury Street while in Boston on your senior trip? Seriously, these lighter moments add to the character of your class, but they are not what I will remember most. What I have learned from you and will remember about the class of 2017, Sweet 66, is your ability to support one another and the example of leadership you set for the entire school. In a New York Times article titled, "Not Leadership Material? Good. The World Needs Followers," author Susan Cain writes that the virtues of fellowship and team players are as important as leaders who are called to service rather than status. This article reminds me of your class. You understand that there are times to be a leader, and there are times to simply be a devoted and loyal follower. Throughout your 4 years, you have allowed yourselves to be led by a classmate when she was passionate about a cause or an activity, and you showed up to support her and help in every way possible. You learned to listen and trust one another. You fought and argued like sisters do, but when things really mattered, you worked it out and hung together. Watching your class during putting on the hits, I saw the ease with which you allow one classmate to step forward into the spotlight, and then she would seamlessly fade back and allow someone else her moment to shine. As individuals and collectively, you are not afraid to take the responsibility and lead when something matters to you, not to gain status or for your reputation. Equally as important, you allow yourself to be led by a peer, which is a very difficult thing. This combination of leading and following is crucial for a strong community. Your class figured it out, and it has become natural for you. The classes of 2018, 2019, and 2020 have your example to guide them as they figure their way through high school. Their style will surely evolve differently, but your legacy will remain. Class of 2017, good luck. Enjoy the celebration. You have earned this moment. Thank you. It is a great joy for me to award the Captain John W. Brown Award for contributions to the SEM community this year, not only because I get the opportunity to recognize a colleague, but also because today I can express my gratitude to Margaret Brown, Class of '72, Chair of the Board of Trustees, for her inspiration and leadership, and to the Brown family for their support of SEM. I'd like to welcome Margaret. The Captain John W. Brown Award was established this year to recognize a member of the SEM community for his or her contributions to school life. In this year, as in her first year at SEM, she has been a steadying force in times of change. Change at any institution can present challenges, and it is in the midst of change that is important everyone have a tried and true colleague upon whom they can rely. She has filled this role for us. I'm reminded of the 80s movie's Ghostbuster when trying to convey her impact on the school life. Remember the question, who are you gonna call, when? So, who are you gonna call when the bus won't start? I'm stranded at the airport. I'm stranded in New York. My daughter won't call me back. I need a quick trip to Target for school supplies. Can you check my room for bugs? How do you turn off the school alarm? Who is organizing Hornet Jacket activities? The refs didn't show up. Someone is hurt. And the list goes on and on. Yet it is not for everything she does that we recognize her, but how she does it. She is completely reliable and absolutely unflappable. Her quiet strength, straightforward approach, good humor, and honesty make her a trusted advisor and friend to both faculty and students. Do not let her calm manner fool you. Her emotions run deep, and her passion is strong for those people and places that she loves. We are so lucky she is fully committed to the SEM community and a leader of our team. It is my pleasure to announce the recipient of the Captain John Brown Award for contributions to the SEM community, to Eva Cunningham. now my pleasure to welcome member of the Buffalo Seminary Board of Trustees, Dr. Virginia Schaefer Horvath, class of 75 from SEM, president of the State University of New York at Fredonia, for our commencement address. Welcome, Ginny.
Good afternoon. Parents, family, friends, faculty, alumni, trustees, and students, it is an honor and a joy to be with all of you today as we celebrate SEM's 166th commencement and the remarkable achievements of this class of 2017. Every time I see or smell red roses, I remember sitting in this very church with my classmates, all of us fussing with our bouquets and our gloves and our uncomfortable white gowns, hoping we wouldn't be the one to trip when it was our turn to step forward, wishing the rain would stop so that we could step out the doors after the ceremony, and tearfully anticipating singing the alma mater one last time. Ironically, my class also chose In My Life for our song, so this really brings me back. Thank you for choosing that for me and for my colleague, Jane Hopkins Carey, who's here. It was 1975, and there was considerable change and tumult in the world. The United States had just left Vietnam, ending 19 years of war in that country. New governments were established that year in Greece, Turkey, Mozambique, Spain, Papua New Guinea, Laos, Bangladesh, and East Timor. There were civil wars in Angola and Cambodia. Prosecutions related to the Watergate scandal were still coming through the courts when we graduated. Around the world, there were political assassinations, earthquakes, typhoons, health crises, shipwrecks, bridge collapses, bombings. In our classes that year, and in our conversations in the senior lounge, we processed all these events together, grateful for the wisdom of our teachers, Harry Schooley, Cornelia Dopkins, Robin McGavern, Edith Taylor, Deanna O'Day, Mac Mahoney, Tony Smith, Gary Sutton, so many others. That was the year of the movie Jaws and the play Rocky Horror Picture Show. It was the introduction of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Wheel of Fortune, and Saturday Night Live. In January 1975, the Altair 8800, the first microcomputer, was released, and it introduced a whole new era of microcomputers. In March, the first computer hacking group was established. No comment. Later that year, Bill Gates and Paul Allen founded Microsoft. We sat here knowing that the world was changing. Margaret Thatcher had been elected as the first female leader of any political power, any political party in Great Britain, and the United States had established the first International Women's Day. An intercollegiate women's basketball game had been nationally televised for the first time. The Equal Rights Amendment, guaranteeing that the rights of the Constitution apply equally to all persons regardless of their sex, had been passed by Congress in 1972 and was much in discussion in 1975 as state ratifications processes continued. We had hope that there would be new places and new rights for us as women who wanted to make a difference. So when I sat here breathing in the scent of those roses and touched their fragile petals, I thought about my future and felt exhilaration and nervousness about the world that lay beyond the end of that aisle. We were all thinking of college, wondering what it would be like, how we would do, what new relationships we would have. We were wondering whether we were ready to leave SEM's sheltering arms and dear protection. Although I'm sure I was oblivious to this at the time, I now know that our parents and our teachers were wondering too, hoping that all their work and guidance, their patience and their prayers would lead us 31 graduates to success and to happiness. We were ready. I'm proud to say that my classmates went on to succeed in business, in science, in architecture, in art, in dance, in law. Among us, there are health advocates, teachers, community leaders, business owners, writers, medical professionals, and leaders in higher education. We are single and partnered, in families with children and without, varied in our faith and our political convictions. What we had in common, what we still have in common, were the strengths of the education we had at SEM. While we were students, the board made the important decision to keep SEM an all-girls school, despite some of the trends at the time. For us, and for you graduates today, it was the right decision. In an all-girls school, there is no holding back in the shadows. I've been part of research projects where, sadly, I have seen teenage boys step forward in problem solving, shouting out all the answers, and seen the girls sit quietly. But that was not my experience at SEM. Having been challenged by difficult reading and discussions, opportunities to write and rewrite, to speak and persuade, my classmates and I were ready for college-level learning and for many kinds of leadership roles. We were ready to connect all we had learned to the issues and crises of our time. We were ready to test our voices. I was fortunate to have a life-changing experience ahead of me right after commencement, as I traveled to Kenya as an AFS student. I'm forever grateful to SEM for sponsoring me, and that meant that we made and delivered a lot of pizza as our AFS fundraiser. I knew I would be attending a girls' school in Nairobi and living with a Kenyan family. Mrs. Dopkins lent me a Kiswahili dictionary, and I learned as many phrases as I could before taking off. Little did I know, however, what that experience would mean. I lived with a family of 4 young boys, 3 years old, 2 years old, and twins born a few weeks before I arrived. Sadly, their mother had had a stroke during delivery, and the entire time I was there, she was bedridden and unable to speak. The father of the family spoke English, but he was rarely home, and proud of the emerging traditions of a newly independent country, he insisted that only Swahili be spoken in the home. So there I was, 17 years old, with 4 little boys and a servant girl my own age who spoke even less Swahili than I did. We all learned together. I learned to buy and cook food in a new culture. I was proud when at last I was able to speak as well as a toddler and persuade him to come and eat his lunch. Wewe kuyapa nakulamae sasa. I was bossing him and he came in. I learned what it is like to live as a racial minority, to feel the fluttering in my chest when I had to speak in another language, to negotiate cultural differences with my classmates of African and Indian descent, to learn how to play games and share music and stories across traditions. There is a special place in my heart today for the international students who are here. You are so courageous to have left the comfort and security of your homeland to come here, and your success in navigating American culture and English language is admirable. I hope all of you take advantage of the opportunities for study abroad that you will have in college. More than ever, we need to understand each other, and there is nothing like living in a culture, sharing meals and traditions and language for our collective human education. It forever changes you. When I returned late in the summer to start college, I was not the same person. I found my classes rather easy after SEM, although I'll admit that the faculty at SEM had spoiled me in some ways. I got used to the idea at a large university that my professors wouldn't know me, but I naively assumed that when I had a poor teacher in college, it wouldn't be my fault if I didn't learn. I figured out that sometimes I needed to learn the material on my own, and my SEM education showed me how to do that as well. I taught my first college course 3 years after I graduated from SEM, and I've taught at least one course every year since 1978. I wanted to know my students and to encourage and challenge them. When I teach writing, I want students to find their voices and learn the best way to use those voices. In my first year as a full-time college teacher, I read what was then a new book about how women learn. Written by Mary Belenke, Blythe McVicker-Clinchy, Nancy Rule Goldberger, and Jill Maddock-Terrell, Women's Ways of Knowing promised a perspective on women's thinking and knowing to complement all the psychological research that had always been done on men. I was skeptical at first, thinking all humans must learn in the same ways. But as I read the book and understood the research of how women move from positions of silence through 4 other levels of learning, each more connected to their identity and the awareness of others, I suddenly understood what our teachers at SEM had been doing. It hadn't been enough to learn that there are multiple complex perspectives on any issue. We had been encouraged to debate, to clarify our thinking, to hold our positions, to accept conflicting views as we developed our self, our voice, our mind. I had been painfully shy when I came to SEM, willing to sit with my head down and wait for the knowledge to be delivered. But I quickly learned there would be none of that. We were asked not only to read complex texts independently, we were trusted to engage with those texts on our own and come to class with our own questions and ideas. We had wonderful art and theater classes where part of our development depended on trying new perspectives, new roles, new ways of looking at things. Even Hornet jacket competitions, Hornets rule, became a way of developing and testing our strength and our sense of competition and fair play. Those tricky leaders at SEM, I thought, as I read that book, they really knew what they were doing, and they still do. I had the good fortune this past year to have conversations with the remarkable faculty at SEM and to hear the passion they have for their fields of study as well as for the girls they teach. They know you. They have learned how you think, what you like, what interests you, what bothers you, what hopes you have for yourself and for the world. As a member of the Board of Trustees, I feel so confident about the commitments of the faculty and the deep understanding they have of the ways to help you learn about yourself and the complexities of the world. More than ever, we need women to be at the table, bringing knowledge and passion to solve the world's problems. And I know that the faculty here have prepared you to do that. Your education has included service learning projects, information technology, and more sophisticated research than we could have imagined in 1975. You are certainly ready for all that's ahead. Because I was the first woman to be appointed president of my university, it took only 186 years for that to happen. I've often been asked to comment on leadership and on women as leaders. In many ways, leadership in any management position is not gendered. There are budgets to manage, people to guide, facilities to oversee, funds to raise, events to organize, legal and operational issues that have to be addressed every day. But sometimes women approach these roles in ways that differ from men. And I'm reminded of the metaphor in Aristophanes' play Lysistrata, in which the women compare solving the problem of a war to untangling a ball of yarn. You solve the conflict not by fighting, but by holding the problem in your hand, turning it over, looking carefully at it, pulling the threads gently until you can see and feel it untangling. Again, I am not sure whether this is what women tend to do or whether it's the best or the only way to solve problems. But it's certainly the example set by Mrs. Helen Marlette in her first year as head of school. I've seen her showing the strength of leadership to try things in new ways, to turn problems over in her hands and mind, and to challenge herself to keep learning even more so she continues to do her best. You have this strong model of leadership and strength right in front of you, and I hope that she and all of your teachers continue to inspire you as they do me. But my message to this class of graduates is that you too have the knowledge and power to find your own way to do things and to succeed at doing the things you choose. When I was selected as the speaker for this commencement, Senior Class President Emily Marie Jimenez reached out to me. In her kind email, she told me of some of the characteristics of this class, and she gave me permission to quote from her, sharing her insights about the young women seated here today. As a class, she wrote, we each shine individually in our multitude of talents and achievements, but still connect and bond together as sisters. I can never imagine myself graduating with any other group of girls but the ones I have now. These 4 years have been the best time of my life, and I am sad yet excited to begin a new path and to see my other friends grow well on their paths. Emily Marie described the experiences of bus trips to Washington and to Seneca Falls as particularly important in connecting through jokes, singing, even smelling skunks. She reflects, quote, the best quality of the class of 2017, I believe, is our kindness. Whether we are bonding and connecting with one another during a trip or reaching out to underclassmen, not only to mentor them, but become their support system. Mrs. Marlette echoed this sentiment as she described the class of 2017 to me. From my perspective, she said, they have been strong leaders, committed scholars, exceptional artists, actors, and athletes. And what makes me most proud is they have shown great kindness toward one another. Typically, when people write in yearbooks, their messages include phrases like, stay the same person that you are, never change. Of course, you will change by your experiences, by the people you meet, by the obstacles you'll face. But my advice is to think of what your class president, your head of school, and your teachers say about you. Your kindness is your strength, and I hope that never changes. Unfortunately, many aspects of our culture discourage kindness, even label kindness as a weakness. The message is that to be competitive, to win, to succeed, you have to beat someone. You have to put others down to get ahead. You have to be mean-spirited and mocking through social media and gossip. You have to fight, to confront, to raise your voice, to take care of number one. This is not true, and it's not you. Poet Adrienne Rich once wrote, the most notable fact that our culture imprints upon women is a sense of our limits. But the most important thing a woman can do for another is to illuminate her actual possibilities. That is what you've done for each other, and what will make a difference in all of the roles you're going to have in your lives. In the book, The Power of Kindness, Piero Ferrucci writes that if we look for it, there are ways every day to be kind to one another. He wrote, there are infinite ways, implicit or explicit, microscopic or gigantic, episodic or lasting, superficial or substantial, of bringing into the life of another person some benefit, relief, cheerfulness, hope, well-being, intellectual or spiritual growth, ecstasy. This kind of relationship is no angelic exception in a warring world of selfish and warring individuals. It is, on the contrary, a normal event, often a part of our everyday interactions at the base of kindness. It is service. A real leader doesn't have to bully or belittle. A leader knows who she is and knows that her own happiness and success depend on the relationships she has. A leader knows that at the base of understanding another person is a level of respect for that person and the stories that have been part of her experience. A leader can persuade people to be their best selves, to be good caretakers of one another, to rise above revenge and pettiness, to focus on ways to improve things. Jim Rohn, an American entrepreneur, said about business, a good objective of leadership is to help those who are doing poorly to do well, and to help those who are doing well to do even better. In friendships and in love, in parenting, in business, in politics, in community service, and even in our stewardship of our fragile planet, more kindness is what we need. Part of being kind is actually seeing other people, recognizing that wherever you are and however busy you are, there is a strange and wonderful interaction of human lives. I'd like to share a poem that I wrote to celebrate retirements on my campus. In the ceremony program, we publish the dates in the bios, but I'm always struck by the limitations of those facts to tell the true human story of so many years of dedicated service. So this is my ode to the small acts of kindness that make up my university, although I know we could say similar things about SEM or any workplace or organization. The poem is called Tally. Each bio is a story. Know an outline of a story. Know just notes of an outline of a story. A date, a title, a place where someone sat or stood or carefully placed books on shelves. A place where pictures of family and friends changed over the years. A place where one person picked up tools for the day when another organized a lab, where someone led a rehearsal or coached a team, where someone puzzled over class preparation, or met with students, or learned some new software, or wrote an article, or consoled someone, or prepared a meal, or shoveled a sidewalk, or led a discussion, or organized an event, or laughed with colleagues, or had one's patience tested, where someone shrugged about the newest procedure, another policy, another meeting, and then did it again. We count the years, but each is marked by days of getting up and coming in, of doing the work, solving the problem, answering the phone, writing the email, helping the student or the coworker. Days of finding our voice and finding our place, finding those little moments of joy or insight, keeping our sanity. What a tally can't show, what the bios can't tell, is how the days add up to the life of a place, its sweat, its heart, its dreams. How those days are offered to students and become part of their days, their lives here. It's a strange arithmetic, not a ratio, not measurable by any of the usual algorithms. It's like counting the cells in a creature and then marveling that it moves, it speaks, it shivers and fears and plays. The days matter, the work matters, the life of this creature matters. More than a number, more than a bio, the human, messy, sometimes wonderful life of every day. So class of 2017, stay kind. Use that quality to be mindful of your own experiences and privileges and understand the paths and opinions of others. Rely on your kindness as a way to find your place when you go to college. Try to do at least one thing every day to make someone else feel appreciated and at home there, and before you know it, you'll be at home too. When you're frustrated in relationships, take a breath and consider one way to be kind, even to that person who is driving you crazy. This doesn't mean that you should accept mistreatment, but there is room for gentleness and simple kindness even as you hold your ground, and it makes a difference. Stay connected to one another and celebrate the milestones you can now share through Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter. Come back to SEM and share your successes with alumni and students. Most of all, know your own heart and trust when that heart speaks to you about the right thing to do. Be kind to yourself as well as to others. Researchers say that our sense of smell is one of the strongest links to our memories. So graduates, please indulge me for a moment. Please raise your bouquets toward your faces and take a deep breath. From now on, whenever you see or smell red roses, please remember this day and the hopes that all of us in this room have for you right now. Your kindness is your strength and your power. From the moment they first held you and looked into your eyes, your parents and your grandparents have held these hopes in their hearts. From the day you first walked in the door at SEM, your teachers and your classmates have seen you and known you. When you walk out those doors today, Hold those roses proudly and think of all the ways that you and your dreams will bloom in the years ahead. You will take your place and you'll help others achieve their goals. And to be truly happy, you will feel gratitude for the large and small kindnesses that others show you. Your kindness is your strength and your power, and it can also be your joy. We are counting on you, and I'd like to ask everyone to join me in counting our blessings today to have been here and shared this day with you. Thank you.
Teresa Marie Pazanik. Proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
I'd like to welcome board member Mark Burlow to present the diploma to his daughter, Samantha Wendy Burlow. Proud of you. I'd like to welcome trustee member James Kramer to present the diploma to his daughter, Leah Jane Kramer. Hey, Leah.
Thank you.
Maria Christina Ladico. Congratulations. Anya Wynn Onque Roy. Mi Kang Kim. Mi Kang. Dabin Han. I'd like to invite a member of the faculty, Erin Kelly, to present the diploma to her daughter. Claire Burke Lewis Von Simpson. Proud of you. Kira Ann Fogg. Christina Laura Grace Saragusa. Proud of you. Congratulations. Brooke Elizabeth Gannon. Zhu Xion Song. Yao Xiao. Feya Wong. Congratulations, proud of you. Miriam Iyab Shafiq. How do you do? Lisette M. Vasquez. Didn't do it to you. Congratulations, proud of you. Da Un Hua. Emily Marie Jimenez. Congratulations, proud of you. Erin Alexandria Wagner. Justine Brooke Rodriguez. Congratulations.
Thank
Very
you.
proud of you. Allison Marie Garris. Congratulations. Very proud of you. Jenna Tariq Al-Naji. Congratulations, proud of you. Lucy Marie Gollin. Emily Paige Bulin. Congratulations. We're proud of you. Alexandra Paige Kane. Jade Anjolak Johnson. Congratulations, very proud of you. Emma Teresa Brengens. Congratulations, very proud of you. Sophie Milnicki. Congratulations, proud of you. Rebecca Claire Thomas. Congratulations, proud of you. Tracy Natasha Clark. Congratulations, proud of you. Tara Shanti Porter. Tara? Sorry. Congratulations. Enya Daniela Cirillo. Good work. Congratulations. Chin Rong Tong. Madison Nicole Broadwater. Zhu en Shu.
Congratulations. Proud of you, Angela. Congratulations.
Ming Wei He. Congratulations, proud of you. Brooke Lynn Sillard. Get a little closer and cozy up a little bit.
Congratulations. Proud of you.
Sarah Suzanne Kelly Kaywood. Hannah Rose Garris. Wu Xing Shen. Congratulations, proud of you. Amanda Lauren Lee. Good job. Congratulations. Miao Yu. Jatsi Lee.
Congratulations. Proud of you.
Bi-young Zhu.
You're doing a great job.
Working on it.
Congratulations. Proud of you.
Michaela Yonkman. Congratulations, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Lara Maria Sheris. Congratulations, proud of you.
Thank you.
Grace Ann Clarity. Congratulations, very proud of you.
Thank you.
Anastasia Ashley Earl.
Congratulations, proud of you.
Shiyang Yi.
Congratulations, proud of you.
Jennifer Janet Weber.
Congratulations, proud of you.
Jessie Elizabeth Sloyer.
Congratulations, proud of you.
Morgan Emma Baker.
Got it. Congratulations, proud of you.
Blue Ruby Daniels Taylor.
Congratulations, proud of you.
Caroline Bliss Dunbar.
Congratulations,
so
proud
much.
of you.
Alexis Scarlett Kowalik.
Congratulations, proud of you.
Emily Laura Broxup.
Congratulations, I'm proud of you.
Madeline Elizabeth Leary.
Congratulations,
Thank you.
proud of you.
Isabel Steves Schleer.
Very proud of you. Congratulations.
Lauren Elizabeth Polina. You got it.
Congratulations, proud of you.
Thank you.
I'd like to welcome Trustee Josephine Siddiqui to give her diploma to her daughter. Fatima Francesca Zahir Siddiqui. Did I do all right on the name? Proud of you. Grace Catherine Gallagher. Proud of you. Olivia Marie Miller. Ileana Victoria Lukasik. Congratulations. Proud of you. Shutzi Lee. Catherine Ray McClanahan. Proud of you. Congratulations. Elisaveta Amalova Nakova. The class of 2017. Good. It didn't take too long, did it?
afternoon. Good afternoon. Well, the class of 2017 has actually done a very cruel thing to me today by asking me to publicly say goodbye to them while I'm 7.5 months pregnant and likely to cry at the drop of a hat. So please forgive me if that's what happens. When I first received the request to speak at graduation, of course, I was extremely honored. However, there were a few worrisome questions that immediately presented themselves. Number one, how could I effectively convey just how special this group of girls is? Number two, what advice could I give them that they haven't already heard? And number three, and perhaps the most concerning, how in the world was I supposed to follow the speech given last year by the amazing Susan Drost? And now I can add yesterday by Jessica Silverstein, who had everyone in tears. As far as colleagues go, I am truly in great company. And I knew that if I let them, these thoughts could overwhelm me. So instead, I turned to something I'm familiar with in order to obtain a jumping off point. I turned to something that actually calms me: science. And I know many people feel the opposite about the subject matter I love. Science can seem overwhelming. It can seem mysterious and complicated, and sometimes that's true. But it's also beautifully logical and even philosophical. It's the way in which we seek to understand our universe and ourselves. The mysterious and complex concepts from which many people tend to shy away are actually derived from simpler, smaller ones. In fact, very small particles, interactions, and creatures add up to quite a lot. And so what I'd like to start off talking about today is sea monkeys. In the grand scheme of things, sea monkeys, or brine shrimp as they're actually named, are minuscule creatures. The largest they ever grow is just shy of 1/2 inch in length. It takes them only 2 to 3 weeks to go from eggs to maturity, and they have a life cycle of about a year. They swim around in our lakes and oceans and small globes on our desks and dressers, laying eggs and doing little else. Each one is seemingly insignificant. However, Discover magazine tells us if we assemble a swarm of these ocean invertebrates, they transform into a collective force that generates ocean currents on par with tides and the wind. In fact, researchers say that simply by swimming, simply by existing, by being themselves, the tiniest creatures can have a massive impact on something as great and vast as the ocean. They're small creatures, but they matter. Now, 1/2 inch is tiny, but the word tiny is subjective. As my chemistry students know, matter exists that is much, much tinier than those little sea monkeys. The universe in which we live is made of molecules and compounds and atoms. We are made of molecules and compounds and atoms. Compared to sea monkeys, which remember are only 1/2 inch long, a water molecule is 20 million times smaller, measuring at about 0.00000001 inches in diameter. Now that is tiny. One water molecule may seem insignificant. However, the interactions among water molecules and between water molecules and other substances, and between all substances for that matter, govern our world. Those interactions, determined by various types of intermolecular attractive forces, are small and incredibly temporary. One moment, 2 molecules are next to each other, and the next they're not. They've moved on to interact with something else. These interactions are instantaneous, but they're strong and frequent and important. They're the reason lizards can climb trees, why we can ice skate in the winter, why the melting point of table salt is almost 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit, and why you don't dissolve when taking a shower. They're what hold our bodies together. They're what hold our world together. They're small interactions, but they matter. And smaller still than even those molecules and atoms that participate in these intermolecular interactions are the subatomic particles that make them up. An electron, for instance, has a diameter of 4 × 10 to the minus 14th inches. That's a decimal with 13 leading zeros. They're small. But when they move, as electrons tend to do, they power our world. They light our light bulbs, and they power our cell phones, and they make transportation possible. They're the reason Times Square is so bright and the Eiffel Tower sparkles at night. Electrons are moving through these walls as I speak. They're the reason you can hear my voice in the back of this space right now. They're small particles, but they matter. So class of 2017, what does all of this have to do with you? I know you're smart enough to have figured out my theme by now, but I'm going to tell you anyway. When you leave STEM, when you leave this very small, tight-knit community, and you're no longer the big fish that you are now, but instead sea monkeys in a vast ocean, there will be moments when you feel insignificant. There will be times when you question whether or not you even matter. There will be moments when you feel very, very small. And in those moments, I want you to remember the electrons. 4 × 10 to the minus 14th inches, and yet you only have to look around this room to see how important they are. In those moments, I want you to remember the intermolecular forces, those unfathomably small, temporary interactions between atoms. Just as those small interactions matter a great deal, so do your interactions with others, even when they're small, even when they're temporary. They impact your friends, your families, certainly your teachers, and even future generations to come. My interactions with each of you these past few years are ones I'll remember for the rest of my life. For instance, I'll always remember realizing that Angela Shee, who I'd initially thought was shy, is actually really funny, but in a subtle way. I'll remember the stillness in the air, how the entire chapel went silent, wrapped with attention, and how I tried and failed to hold back my tears as Lauren Polina read her courageous and beautiful speech during her senior presentation. I'll remember my amusement at hearing Ellie Nedkova's consistently thoughtful, in-depth, and honestly quite bizarre questions about science topics. I'll remember Emily Marie Jimenez's smile, which lights up a room as brightly as any electron, and Alex Kane's contagious jubilance. If you've ever heard her giggle, you know that it's truly infectious. I'll remember the passion Dobbin Hahn displays when imploring us to save the bees, and Grace Gallagher's undying devotion to dogs. I'll remember how impressed I always am with Morgan Baker's confidence as she gets up to make announcements to the entire school during morning meetings. And in contrast, Enya Cirillo's shy waves in the halls. She makes a point to say hi to me every time she sees me, and it means a lot. Based on countless interactions, I will remember not being surprised in the slightest when Grace Clordy included a dating profile in her senior presentation. And I will always look back fondly on the conversations I had with Catherine Wong last year, who would frequently stay after class to discuss the most minute details of a topic we'd just covered. Like me, I think she has an appreciation for the fact that it's the little things that matter. So in those moments, which you will inevitably have, when you are feeling very small, I want you all to remember the sea monkeys. Just by swimming around, doing their little sea monkey things, by being themselves, they impact the currents. They impact the salinity and the temperature and the movement of something as great and vast as the ocean, and you can too. I want you to remember that even when you feel small, I know, and your teachers know, and everyone who has ever had the opportunity to interact with you knows that you're gonna make waves. Congratulations, class of 2017. It has been my profound honor.
so done. Woo!